You guys have said collaboration so many times, and I love the word. And when you guys are saying it, you're saying it with such conviction of, I know what collaboration is and what it should be.
Creation, it's the third entity, you know, you plus me equals this thing.
The project deserves the ego, not me, not you, but this, and what's in service of the project versus what's in service of my credit or your credit.
It's basically our entire mission for our company. Curiosity is the hero and the antagonist is fear. To be a director to me when I was 10 years old was not me.
You can't be what you can't see.
That's
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome to Heart and Head Work. This is Rocky Donati, and I'm here with my partner at Maven.
Tessa Arneson. Hey, crew. Thanks for coming back.
Potties.
Potty like a rock
Tessie.
star.
Tessa gave you, and it'll just stick forever now in my head. It doesn't matter how many times you say it. But we're really excited to introduce two incredible guests today. We have Amy Redford and we have Skye Emerson. They are the co-founders of Red Sky Stories Productions, and they are directors, they are producers. I've also heard they're recovering actors, and then Skye will only own up. Exactly. Skye's only going to own up to writer. It's her favorite. So
Well,
welcome.
We want to know about you. Who are you? I feel so fucking lucky to know you, but I want to know as we all go through this life, and we talk a lot about like trying to, when we feel safe, to be this whole human and to show others. I want to know how you think about yourself, not necessarily how other people see you, but how do you think about that whole humanness, and who are you?
Who am I? I think that's a daily exercise to a certain extent. Who do I need to be today? Is it more mom focused? Is it more work focused? Do I need to be physically strong, emotionally strong, vulnerable, receptive, armored? So, you know, I'm mom, creator, co-founder, citizen, sibling, friend, nut job.
Recovering actor.
Recovering actor. Yeah, I think, just sort of trying to be as functional and inclusive of the assignment that I set out in my life path as possible. Right? Some days maybe Red Sky needs more. Some days my kids need more. But it's sort of finding that balance, doing that. We talk a lot about I think I have talked a lot in especially female forward spaces about the daily calculus you have to do. And often it means that something suffers on some level because you have to just say, okay, what is the most important need that I'm addressing today or in this moment, in the next 30 seconds? And sometimes it's elegant and sometimes it's not. Sometimes we should talk about it more. What about you? Who are you?
I love all of that. I think, like many people, I think I struggle with my identity all the time. I think, I think that I've had a real struggle with owning the term writer in particular, the term creator, and I think we all are versions of that every single day. You know, we're creators, we're artists. I think we all are expanding the world with stories and with participation. And yet when it comes to assigning any of that, it's really difficult to own it and to speak it.
Why do you think that is?
You know, I don't know if it is a learned behavior. I'm assuming it's learned for me that, you know, there's a humility that should always be applied, and also that, you know, have I earned this? Have I done enough to say that I'm that thing? And but what is enough? What's the benchmark? I don't know.
You hit enough a really long time ago.
But and then like a lot of folks, probably folks in this room too, I did a mid-career shift. I started out in marketing because I was told by my college counselor that a woman in Utah wouldn't have a career in film. And that I should study business or marketing, which unfortunately I listened to and did. Well, not fortunately, unfortunately.
But we hear you.
Yeah, had a great career there, and it was really exciting. But it also, I was fortunate to land with an agency and a mentor. Shout out to Jim Milligan, who really helped me find my voice and encouraged me that I had more to say. And so I went back in my 30s to get my MFA in screenwriting. And interestingly, I wonder if I'd done it in my early 20s, if I would have been able to say I'm a screenwriter, just out of the gate. But
Isn't that interesting?
Even now, it's so hard. That's never the way I introduce myself. I don't own it comfortably. Even as I'm, just wrapping up production on a feature film that I wrote, and have done other projects. It's still hard to say that. So identity in crisis, but trying to really find a home for the identity and own some ways to think about myself and to feel confident and comfortable in what that is.
It's so weird that I think I know I've talked to you about this too, but I didn't identify as a creative for a really long time because I was like, I'm not a creative. I don't draw something. I don't do these like traditional forms of blah, blah, blah. So I never, like when you said, I wonder what it would be like if I did this at 20 or 22. What might I have built had I started to identify as a creative at 22, rather than I like very much mirror a bit of that path of like people telling me like, oh, you're too young to start your own business. And I was like, always knew as a little kid, my daughter's age, I was like, I want to be an entrepreneur. And I never did it until a decade after I had got my feet wet. And so I wonder if there's something about that enoughness or that permission or.
Yeah, I think also there's, you apply incredibly high standards to yourself. And I think.
As we do.
It is.
Women.
To sort of say, I think that your standard of like, when do you get to say you are a screenwriter, or when, is something that not everybody has the same standard. So when somebody had their first screenplay, options, they would say, I'm a writer now, right? I have professional affirmation. I get to play in the field. I have a ticket to ride. But I think that there is a useful part of the humility as well.
Because you grew up around that business in a different way than your partner here did, do you think that you got more comfortable with that language? Like, I am a writer, producer,
No.
I mean, not necessarily writer, director.
Yeah.
Like, did you also struggle with that? Like,
Totally.
You didn't want to assign that to yourself?
Yeah, I think also because it feels claustrophobic, and I knew that I wanted to express on multiple levels and in multiple ways, and I didn't want to feel like I was cheating on one thing or the other because I was identifying in one way or the other. I knew that it was going to be a spectrum. There's a lot of different ways.
You knew that early on?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I kind of got out of the gate sort of wanting to be a photojournalist, and then, kind of got hijacked into all of this stuff in a lot of ways, but I still apply those impulses into what we do. So I think having to commit in one way to one identity didn't feel quite right because I was still in the exploration phase, And the thing that I think why we like working together is because, yes, Skye's the writer, I'm the director, we're producers, but there's a fluidity in our creative process. Skye has very important instincts and input when it comes to elements of directing, and I'll throw in about some writing things, and and I think it allows us to have a little more expansiveness than we would. I mean, I'll just say it, and probably more male-driven sort of iconography.
Oh yeah, you can just say it. Yeah, you can say it again. You can say it louder. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really, it is a way in which we can say, okay, this is part of my offering in these creative spaces. I am also a businesswoman, and I do have practical thought, and all of these things can be operating simultaneously You know, and I think that's where you balk at saying, well, I mean, when I was younger, I think also because it looked like a certain way. To be a director to me when I was 10 years old was not me. The first person that, you know, you're talking about having a mentor that gave me permission to be in the space was a director named Uzan Palsi, who is the writer-director of a movie called Dry White Season and Sugarcane Alley. And when I saw her and I got to know her, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I do get to exist. There is possibility, you know.
Absolutely.
You can't be what you can't see.
That's
yeah, absolutely.
Right. I'm a leader of a Girl Scout troop, my daughter's Girl Scout troop, and that is our theme because we just take our girls to different powerful women and say, hey, you could also do this. You could also do this. And interestingly enough, when you were saying like those labels that we are either afraid to assign to be boxed in or afraid because then you won't get to expand. My daughter, after doing one day on your set, how lovingly you let her come be an extra, believes she is an actress.
Love that.
Well,
And she is 9, right? And she is. She's just like, yes, I am. And like that is such an interesting, cool part of progression and evolution of, you know, of womanhood, of, you know, humankind, is that hopefully this next generation is a little bit more confident in going after what they want
also
earlier.
Cool that she didn't just say like, I'm going to be an actress either.
No.
She's like under recognition of like, I am an actress. I
love it.
Like that's even cooler because we were just talking earlier with someone about this, that like we have all these gifts and powers that we use and talents and so forth. And we're so aware of them that they happen naturally that we don't actually then acknowledge them or recognize them. And it's so important and so different than going like, oh, well, I could do that and I can do that in the future. And I can like, well, what about the times you've already done it? What about the times you're doing it right now in this conversation? You didn't even know it. So that's even cooler.
It is cool. And I just feel like it's just a little bit the kind of like the hope of the next generation, or it's like, as a parent, that's what I want her to keep, right? Is that like possibility?
I'm imagining baby's first word is, I'm a creator. You know, like they just like pop out and they're like, yes, I am all. Like how cool would that be?
Yes, I love it. I hope so too. I really hope that. I love that. That's so amazing.
And I mean, I think this is just such a silly little added detail, but you took a couple minutes with the crew of them and you came up and you said to her, you said like, I saw you do that little nod. I loved that. That was a great ad. And she walked away and she was like, the writer called me out. Yes, thank you. I am an actress, Mom. And it was just so cool. And like these little tiny moments, like you understand you understand maybe it is power, the power you have in the room. And impact of how important it is and how cool it is to be in these women spaces that is not normal for women to be in charge of. And it's fucking cool to watch both of you in it. It's just like, this feels so different than anything I've ever seen. So thank you. I don't imagine it's easy. What's hard about it?
Well, I mean, I'll share another first from set that I think also hopefully your daughter was able to see, and then some of the other our crew, and then some of the other cast and extras. But and it's strange that this is sort of a first, but it's definitely a first for me, and I think it's a first for a lot of folks in this industry. But Amy was very thoughtful in having me as the writer on set. And this is not a common practice, which is really strange.
Having the writer on set is what's uncommon?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
So you would think, I think even us as women, we think, well, this is a collaborative type of project. Storytelling is collaborative. And the person that created the stories, the original part
you're
of the story
blowing my mind already.
is not there.
I'm so excited about this because I'm like, what do you?
Yeah.
I
doesn't
I don't know jack shit about what happens on a movie set but
TV more common.
Okay.
Yeah, but film sets, the writer is definitely not there in the way that Amy had me on set, and that was very much by design to put my chair next to the director's chair. And we were in the space called Video Village, which is where you can watch the monitors, watch what's happening. That's usually reserved for the director. It's usually a very male-dominated space.
And it's usually like the director by themselves?
It's the
Director, script supervisor, people come in and check the monitor just to make sure that they're doing their jobs.
Because like a lot of ops.
And then, I mean, it's it's an assembly line.
Yeah.
Making movies is sort of an assembly line, and people get a little anxious if you mess with that assembly line
Sure.
cadence,
Okay.
Sometimes if you're working with studio or the producer will sit sort of in Video Village and be watching what you're doing, depending on what kind of a producer. If it's a creative producer, it's one thing. If it's a studio producer, it's another. But I think that there's this idea that, that once you start production, it's the writer job is over. And for me, I think, especially because of how we collaborate, I would much rather have Skye problem solve than me. It's her baby.
Yeah,
it's her story.
story.
She's created these humans, and it's more fun. And I think, we were more efficient, I think. I mean, and what I think happened too, what we realized was like, why are we moving through these problems so quickly? And a lot of it was the difference between there's a problem, whose fault is it? To there's a situation and how do we solve it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, and so, I mean, intuitively, I just wanted her there. And I think to be able to see something like this come to fruition is not something that people get to do all the time, which was important. And Annie too, who is much more behind the curtain.
And Annie is Skye's wife, who also is a producer.
Yeah, and an incredible producer, and often not acknowledged and not recognized. And sometimes that role can also be jettisoned from the quote unquote creative process, but none of it happens without that person. No, we would not have gotten to our first day of shooting without all of the creative problem solving that Annie was doing and inputs and, and I'd much rather that be in front of the curtain than behind the curtain, especially when it comes to wanting to create more sets like this and more environments like this.
Yeah.
And then you also had, remind that your whole exec team, I'm saying exec team, but I don't know if that's what you actually call it in
Your CEO.
in your
Yeah,
CFO
yeah.
or movie.
Yes,
But
exactly.
your whole exec team was women. And that
Yeah.
was, did you do that on purpose, or was that something that naturally happened? And now that you've done it, what are you going to do next time?
It happened very organically. I mean, we chose the best people for the jobs, and then we sort of looked up and around and went, oh, cool, look at this, And part of that was the sensibility that they came to the table with, the way in which they approached the story, and and also Tali, who is our director of photography, I had worked with on my second feature, and we'd worked with on our short. And I saw the way that she leaded her team and the respect that she had, and knew that we really needed that as part of our anchoring. Lauren Call, who came on as producer, is also playing one of the roles in the film, was an incredible asset. She's an actress, but also producer and a businesswoman. And Lauren Michelizio, who is our line producer. There's just a lot of people that came to the table with fully realized approach. I think that neither of us have much tolerance for yelling, because it's a real sign of profound insecurity. And I think the energy that people came, and there was men on our set that came with the same kind of problem solving energy without having to be dominant. And so it made it, it's not easy to shoot an independent film. And so I think it was really that kind of energy, high work ethic, incredibly demanding of themselves to execute fully on the job. And it was a really welcoming set, I think.
very collaborative,
Yeah.
which is fun.
And there was some sort of, I was only there one day.
Wait, I don't want to interrupt you, but I do want to hear, Skye, what was your thing that you were going to say? about your first.
So again, yeah, just coming full circle on that point, just being, in Video Village next to Amy first, chair next to Amy. And this is like my first experience in that regard, it's really changed, it's informed how I think all productions for us will go. But I also teach at UVU, and I'm sharing the story with my students, and they've never seen that and they've never encountered that. And once I shared that, they couldn't really fathom why it hadn't been done that way. And it's strange to sort of realize that something that felt very organic to us, that was very natural and collaborative, is not being done, and that we could be a catalyst for allowing more of that collaboration and that presence of all the creatives to sit together and feel like they have the seat at the table, or in Video Village, or as part of this practice. So it's really it was really an honor for me, and quite a novel experience to be part of it. And I will say, we had so many fun times of trying to brainstorm a joke on the fly. And I'm like, okay, Amy, this isn't working. We're going to figure it out right now. And how often do you get to do that? And we would literally write a joke that would then be shot, 2 minutes later. And we'd sit back and act like that was always meant to go that way. Or, if Amy's working with an actor and they're, wanting to try new things with the lines, she's calling me and saying, hey, can you come over here and just listen and tell me if this is making sense? Because she knows my style is, I try to be very intentional with my words. And if I'm saying a thing here, it's because I've planted something somewhere else. And if we get away from it, we might lose it. And so just being there and having a director so conscientious of what these words meant to me is just incredibly novel. And I'm really grateful for that. And I hope that others will consider looking out for the writer and showing others that as a writer, you can be part of the process from start to finish.
Yeah, I think it's also an affirmation of craft. It's like having the writer there. It's like, this is an important craft. It didn't happen by accident. It is intentional. You pull one string and something else, gives. And I think maybe it would be different if that isn't how I like to work too, which is to take something that has been very well crafted and be able to be a value add onto that thing that I respect, and not feel the need to sort of disassemble it in order to have my own imprint, which is often what happens. A director might come in and say, well, in order to make it mine, I have to deconstruct it, which I don't feel the need to. I just want to be a value add.
I feel like you anticipated my question, because what I wanted to ask is, you guys have said collaboration so many times, and I love the word. And when I was hearing it, I was just thinking of like any word, we get this, becomes a buzzword, and then it's just something that like we throw around. So like, oh my gosh, I'm in creative space, I have to be collaborative. You know how I could do a better job with my business partner is more collaboration. And when you guys are saying it, you're saying it with such conviction of, I know what collaboration is and what it should be. And you just said it so beautifully as you described it, of like, I don't need to take it and tear it apart and call it mine. I can do this. How did you guys develop such an incredible ability to be aware of collaboration, what it needs to look like? How do you get to it? Like, what's been your practice there? Because I think this is something so many women are really naturally good at, but we don't live in the environments that really like cultivate it. And so we have to step outside in some capacity and go, hold on, stop. It doesn't work in this system. We're going to shift the system. But I would love more information from you guys about how you've built it and how you created that.
I mean, I think there's maybe a misunderstanding often that collaboration has to mean that you don't sit firmly in your space, you know, that you don't have a point of view that you feel strongly about, that you need to sort of assimilate in order to be an acceptable partner. And that's definitely not how we work. I mean, we both have strong point of view and we have, deep feelings about various things. And I trust that. I rely on it. If there's something that's a whoopsie in Skye's belly about something and I have the opposite feeling, I might throw down about it. But I trust the fact that we need to have this conversation because I trust the fact that she feels strongly about it. And I trust her craft. And so, you know, it's being able to say, well, this is about building. You know, it's not about lowering the standards of execution. It's not about making it soft. You know, it's really about knowing that we respect each other's space, you know, and that's, I think that's the thing that people maybe can misunderstand.
Yeah, that we can collapse under the idea of, oh, in order to collaborate, I must give in to
Agree
someone
on
else.
everything.
And that's the
Yeah.
agreement
Or
rather
compromise, like
Yeah.
a compromise before
Right.
collaboration. Which
Yeah,
of
the
course
compromise.
there's some in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's that third thing, the compromise. I mean, I think the compromise that we would come up with feels more like creation. It's the third entity. You know, it's you and me. You know, you plus me equals this thing, right? So it's about constructing and building. And sometimes you do have to say, okay, well, this is something that is very important to you and your values in this moment. And maybe it's not as important to me. And maybe I need to just back off and just let this thing live. And maybe that's going to be in service of the bigger thing, you know? But I think, you know, in terms of the catchphrase of collaboration, I think, you know, it's again, it goes back to that efficiency. It's like, how do you make the most out of the assets that you have? You know, is it you, then me, or can it be something that is a co-creation, you know, that takes the best out of who's sitting at the table?
Yeah. And I would say too, I think sometimes it's just not having ego. And I think that is often why I think there isn't a writer and director on set. I think those look like two egos, well-intended egos, but very pointed feelings and very specific visions. And I think if you can sort of remove some of the ego and approach with the project deserves the ego, not me, not you, but this, and what's in service of the project versus what's in service of my credit or your credit, and so you know, we do work in the rising tide moves the boat, I think, in all facets. That's not to say there weren't times where I'm like, no, and letting I'm not perfect at this. We are not. I'm quit. We definitely, you know, get emotional, and we have a couple of, you know, points where we're feeling all the things, but again, if we can pull back and that happens, has happened every time where we look at the project and say, okay. I see your perspective and I see what is the biggest win for the project. So I think it's put the ego, put the credit to the project, and sort of let your credit sit sidebar. And I think women are good at that. You know, I think we're better at that.
Women are good at that.
So that's where I think we all, you know, yeah, exactly. To get away from the buzzword of collaboration, we don't have to sit together and hold hands and write the script or whatever. But what we can do is approach with an idea and hear the idea and then think about the project and how does the idea serve the project.
I think also the trust out the gate of like the true north, you know, like very clearly established north. So it's easier to sort of go along for that ride because you know where you're headed, and you know, especially when it comes to, you know, vision, having that kind of communication early in the collaboration to say, okay, it's better that we can talk all of this through now before we get to the starting gate, so that we both know why this moment needs to happen. We know why we chose this, you know, actor. We know, so we don't have to retroactively go back and catch up because we've already had that communication, which I think goes back to the efficiency part, you know.
And what, like, as an example, what's your true north? Is it for like this project that you guys are working on together, or is it your production company? And what is the true north?
Or is it
something
when
else?
you were introducing yourself, you were like, almost like your mission in life? Is it that?
It's all of it. I mean, I think the only way that the true north in the sort of global sense comes together is in the micro moments. You know, it's on that incremental win to say, well, you know, we won this moment in the scene because we know we're after the idea that curiosity is our hero and our antagonist is fear. And so we have to create that, you know, moment to moment. And that for me is also a global thing. It's like, this is how I want to walk the earth. I want to approach moments that I have fear with more curiosity and less antagonism. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't, but I know that's where I'd like to head. And I think that's...
Yeah, we carry that through everything. That's our ethos. So it's our company motto. It's
our company motto. It's
the way we write and direct too. The way we want to be as humans, I think. So we don't want to villainize anyone. We don't want to put up barriers to conversation or to engagement. And, you know, we want to be curious about the world and humans and all of our experiences. So, I think that's our true north. And I think we're always working toward that or trying to be in service of that as best we can.
I think that's awesome.
Fucking cool.
That's such a great one. Can you actually just say it again?
Yeah.
So it's like, not the whole thing, just that phrase. You said curiosity is the protagonist.
They will, you know,
fear is the antagonist.
It's basically our entire mission for our company is, you know, that curiosity is the hero and the antagonist is fear. And I think
that's real good, guys.
well,
that's really good.
It is evolved.
You're an excellent writer.
I mean, a lot of it is like, why am I so drawn to Skye's stories? It's because it's that exploration that I'm really drawn to as a human being. And so by creating that micro moment in a scene, I'm creating the larger picture that it's the world. I'm trying to create the world I want to live in, you know, little moment to moment.
Yeah.
And I think we share a kind of, I would say, somewhat childlike optimism when it comes to human nature. You know, we tend to lean towards potential and feel more alive in spaces where we can see the full possibility. We tend to kind of shy away from vindication, you know.
And I have like two questions and I don't know which one I want to ask first or second. So I'm going to ask both of them and then you guys can decide which one you want to answer. But I have this question about like efficiency because it makes me think of the difference between speed, which is just to like get something done as fast as possible, versus efficiency where it may take a little longer out of the gate, but by the end of it, you've built something that is more fluid. And there's a big difference that we see efficiency, or we've been taught that efficiency is like also just getting it done as fast as possible. So that's one of my questions. And maybe this is actually a question to Amy, and then maybe this one is a question to Skye now that I'm saying it, because I'm looking at you guys and noticing where I'm looking. That Amy mentioned you love Skye's stories, and I'm like curious what the inspiration for a lot of your stories comes from, and that she then sees herself mirrored in some capacity. And like, what is that? What is that storyline and mirror?
Okay, I'll take the first one.
I know that's a lot. Jess, did you want to throw in a third and a fourth, and then we can really play a gamble?
I'll probably remember mine after.
You know,
I do feel like an excited kid in a candy shop. I'm like,
I was just talking to somebody else about this again too. Eternal child, the Jung theory that you know stay with optimism and excitement as this playful opportunity,
it's very
and
beautiful.
it's fun.
well, there is efficiency in that too, I think, because if you're not racing, you tend to probably see the intricate fibers of things, and it might look like it's slower, but it's actually more efficient because those are the threads that you gather later. You know, we've been talking a lot about this with regard to AI, that the efficiencies that may be created through use of the tool of AI sometimes abandon the intentional microfibers that make it stronger at the end product. Might look like, well, why would you forsake that when it could be done by this machine? And the answer is, well, on so many levels, take our industry, you remove lower level jobs and you're cutting off the on-ramps to a diverse community of people, right? Who don't ever feel invited into the conversation when it comes to making stuff. And you cut off those on-ramps and you only invite the people that already feel invited, and you're boring. Your storytelling is boring. And you don't get the perspective of someone who says, oh, it's funny, I saw that, that line, and I thought about, my own lived experience.
Yeah, it's the generic,
yeah,
ununique.
And that bit of inefficiency in the early stages of your process, while you're actually inviting more elements to the table, is the thing that ends up sort of winning the race at the end of the day. And I think that's something that we feel very strongly about.
That's interesting.
I mean, it's so beautiful because it is true. It's the broader perspective and like the mixture of all the ingredients. And there can be some like purity in the ingredients, like I guess I'm getting into food now, but like the Italians would argue you only need like 3 ingredients to make something good. But they're like the perfect trifecta of ingredients, literally the tomato, the basil, and the mozzarella, or what if I want to get particular here, or the garlic. But like what you're saying is this big melting pot of like all this juiciness, and then you like let it marinate, and then it takes a little bit longer potentially, but the taste and all the flavors and the depth of those flavors is all there, and we just get rid of it, and we've got like fucking hamburger helper, stroganoff, and like, bleh. So I love that, the idea of the on ramps and like how it leads towards that is really beautiful. Thanks, that's a great answer. Not surprised. Yeah, not surprised by great answers, to be honest.
Yes, as far as story inspiration idea, I think most writers or many writers, write to lived experience, write to what we know, write to something that has sparked or happened or been witnessed, and I'm no different there. All of my stories tend to come from some version of a lived experience, but what makes me interested as a writer is to kind of consider the what if. And again, I think it's around that curiosity model. So what if this person had a different outcome? What if the story had gone a little differently? What if someone had stopped to ask a question or participate in this experience in a different way?
And like still using like the root of your lived experience, but then exploring. So I know it happened this way, but what if it happened this way?
Exactly.
Oh, that's so beautifully put. Okay.
And I think it just, again, to Amy mentioned this earlier, I think it's part of the world that we want to see, which is not perfect. None of our stories are perfect. These characters are flawed. Nothing ends wrapped up in a perfect bow, but there's the hope for an interesting outcome, something that wasn't expected. And I think, that curiosity of character and that curiosity of the human spirit is what drives the story. It's, and every story we're working on, takes a nugget of something we've lived and then flips it on its head to say, what if, we had the opportunity to really explore this, push it further, ask questions, get to know that person, give them a chance to realize their dream. What does this look like? And in all funny, messy, dramatic ways, those are the stories that we're telling.
Yeah,
it's like the dad on your short.
Yeah, exactly.
I love him so much.
I was just going to ask for an example. Is this one of the examples?
I feel like this is a perfect
absolutely.
example.
So
and please tell our viewers what's the name of your short so they can track it down and watch it.
Yeah, please take a look. Amy and I completed a short called Little Jeans. That's GENES. And it takes place in the 1980s in the Utah mountains. Follows a family who is on a weekend scouting trip. And while the dad is working very hard to instill the lessons of scouting and survival to his oldest son, it's the middle child, Arlo, that's really clamoring for the dad's attention. And we, how much should I share?
I mean, it's back to your original question about identity. And I think the movie was inspired by some of Skye's wish fulfillment. She knew somebody who didn't have an affirming parent who went in and asked questions. And instead there was a fear response. And it was very injurious to that individual. So Skye wrote something that said, well, what if in that pivotal moment, something stopped and was able to alter the trajectory of this family? And that's sort of what we were after in our, we were talking about the dad in the movie, he, Tyler Glenn, rock star. And we had so much respect for him because he was exploring having compassion for his own father's fear response, and he found a lot of love and understanding in that what if space,
Channeling his father, playing his father.
Yeah, playing his father. And his father came to see the movie and loved it. And it was beautiful to watch some of that understanding come to fruition by, well, what if?
Yeah, what's this alternative timeline that can exist if we shift things around?
And what are those outcomes? It's like what Skye said is like you can start with your lived experience and then you start adding the what ifs and you have a whole new creation, and that's I think why I lean towards her writing, because it's seeding all of the possibility that wasn't there. And there's a lot of compassion in that, so.
That was such a sweet. I know I'm crying over here. I'm thinking back to that moment.
Those are powerful movies when you just think about the movie and you're tearing up.
Dad was so like you wanted to like hate him, like you're missing it. This is the kid, and then there's this softening, and it's just beautiful, and it's so little and subtle and imperfect, and and the scenery in that movie, it's just outrageous.
I also love that you guys told me absolutely nothing in a good way. Because I'm like, well, now I have to go see the movie, which is perfect storytelling. So go see Little Jeans. We'll link it in our bio down below. So make sure.
Please do. And kind of on another extreme, I'll tell you about another project, if okay, just because it's, I think, another example of this that I think we're going to have a lot of fun with, but it's untitled right now. We call it Drag Movie. But
fun.
it is a really fun concept that is playing with films that I love from the 80s, like Cocoon and Field of Dreams. It's sort of surrealist fantasy, but it was inspired by a time when my grandfather went into memory care, and I was around the time that I was coming out, and I'd visit him every day, and we'd have great conversations one day, and then the next day wouldn't know who I was. And I was trying to come out to him at the time. I was in college, and it sort of turned into this really hilarious Groundhog Day, where every day I'm
coming
like,
out.
you guys, I'm really good at coming out. It really prepped me for life.
That's amazing.
And every day I'm telling this story. And so this idea for the story came to me about a young man who was disillusioned from his family after he came out, and now performs in drag as Barbra Streisand. And then when his mother goes to the hospital and he rushes there with his sister in drag, she awakens and thinks that Barbra Streisand has really come to see her.
Oh, fuck
that's
yes.
And then, of course, a lot of hilarity ensues as he and his drag family sort of embark on the memory care home and kind of get to help these folks relive some of their past and just really explore the idea of identity and masks. And I thought, the drag community, again, so unfortunately put upon, but actually I feel like they're the most vulnerable because they are so forward facing with masks that they wear. We see them, but in reality, we all wear masks, right? You just can't see that we're all playing a part every day in some version. And so I really wanted to just play with this concept of who's actually really being seen for who they are, and what does the mom actually know, and when does she realize, and things like that. So again, another example of just taking a moment and really exploring the what ifs around it and the possibilities and opportunities to be curious.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm seeing, what did you call it again? Drag?
We just call it drag movie right now.
Drag movie right now. Okay. Well, I'm seeing quote unquote drag movie when it comes out, because that's amazing.
We're excited. I think
I
there's
love
a
the
lot of
creativity
potential
around that.
So
Yeah.
I have a question. Now that you have worked as a team, will you continue to work as a team? You're talking about this next movie.
I'm never talking to her again.
I know. Well, yeah. Or is it like easy now that you've done one together? We talked a little bit about proof of concept earlier before we got on camera. Like, is it something that will be quote unquote easier the second time around to get this project off the ground, or not? Is every project a new day? Like, I mean,
it is,
I don't know
because
how-
every project is its new, has its own calling. It requires different elements that are specific to that story and to that environment. But I think, we've been iterating, even since we did Little Jeans, of going, okay, for example, I get very seduced by Skye's words. And so we're like, okay, well, how do we make sure that we get, we get we do the work that we need to do, to get a shooting draft. And, and we only learn about that in our process. And so absolutely. I mean, it is, I think Skye, Annie, and I are a really great tripod in all of our skill sets and, the way we complement each other and make up for each other's deficiencies. Or I'll just speak for myself, the way you guys make up for my deficiencies. But it just gets to be a much stronger scaffolding. And I think, yes, it is a proof of concept, and there's also a protective device inherent in that. It's working with the two of them, I have more eyes in the back of my head. It's like we can see around the corners of things, and I have a protective reflex on Skye. I have a protective reflex on Annie, and for the thing that we're trying to create. So it feels a little bit more fortified.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're hoping that people will take a look at the projects and give us a chance and say, these are things we want to get behind, be part of, participate in. We're open to all of that. We are, we love to shoot in Utah. We love to make stories here. We both, Amy and I, are transplants back from LA, and really happy to be home and afforded the opportunity to tell stories here and work with groups here like Spy Hop and Utah Film Center and others to try to create opportunities for other storytellers here. That's a big thing for us. So we hope that others will want to be involved and that they're having positive responses to the stories and positive experiences being on set with us. And we'd love to, carry them forward with us. And then hopefully others will, again, as to your point, see it and want to get behind it. All indie filmmakers need investors, need supporters, need backers to help make it happen. It does not, unfortunately, happen in any kind of silo. So, we're hoping that people feel moved from what we're trying to say and want to participate in the process.
Give us some cash.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let's ask for that.
That's
I will
fair.
connect
Let's
you.
ask
Reach
for
out
it.
to us. We will connect you directly to them if you can't find them, because I think that is so important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, artists need to be paid to be able to do cool work and produce
Absolutely.
films and get these stories off the ground. I wanted to talk a little bit about, because I think the way you were really involved in how you, I guess the term, when I take my kiddos camping, we always say, before we leave, you better leave it better than you found it. I feel like you did that in Helper. Can you talk a little bit about how that became part of your ethos and your culture, not just on set, but what happened, what happens now that you're not there anymore?
Yeah, I mean, some of that was going in without cameras for, over 2 years to get to know the people in earnest, to understand what do they need? What do they want? How do they want to be engaged? There was Mark Montoya, who ended up working with us on the film, was one of the first kind of ambassadors on behalf of Helper. And so having him, consistently integrated into the process where he would be able to pull people authentically into what we were trying to create and why. And it also gave us a front row seat of like, okay, well, where does this town want to head from their perspective, not ours? There was a lot of people that I think showed up knowing that we had that intent. We didn't want to just come and extract and hightail it out. And part of our economic model is the revenue for some of our grants, the revenue that is generated from the grants that are given in our film will go back to help our infrastructure. So, we hope to have a sort of legacy asset in place. And I think also it's shooting helper for helper. It was more interesting to find out, well, what is the truth? What is the truth of this place than sort of make it some kind of Disneyfied version. It's not, I think the town felt seen. And so they wanted to participate.
Oh, people were so obsessed with you.
I have a fun. Yeah, I was just going to say. So you guys finished filming like a week before I went through Helper.
Oh wow!
And which was crazy because I knew that we were interviewing you guys. This whole thing, but I went through the town, and my husband and I always stop at Helper Pizza and Beer. Am I getting that name right? That is their full name. Yeah. Which is incredible and so unexpected, quote unquote, for Utah, rural Utah. And you guys definitely need to go there. Pizza is amazing. Beer is amazing.
They
all
have
the food is amazing.
Pizza.
Yeah, they have gluten-free pizza.
Which is wild.
And also, I always stop in and talk to Bob, whose brother owns the motorcycle museum that is there. And Bob is incredible because he always says he remembers me, but I know he's lying. He's just being like that friendly. But he was raving about you guys. And it was because I've taken his tour multiple times. It's the same tour every time. And he started talking about, all right, well, the production company that was here and the way that they filmed it and they used this space and they were so nice. I even got to be in the movie. I never would have thought I would have been in the movie. I can't remember Bob's last name. Vicente, I want to say. Anyway, and then I went next door to the sort of like a cool antique store. And even that guy was talking about like, yeah, they just finished filming. I mean, so you guys literally did leave such an incredible impression because they're talking to a relative stranger about a past project that they're so excited about, that they were excited their town got to use and that they were a participant in. And it was just
like proud. There was like a pride.
So proudful. Yeah. So prideful. Yeah. Just incredible. So what you guys set out to do, that's really cool to hear that side because I didn't know that side. Yeah. I just got to hear from the town folk essentially of like, yeah, they're fucking amazing, basically.
Well, that means a lot. I really, thank you for sharing that.
Oh, my pleasure.
It does mean a lot.
Thanks for sharing this so I could share it because I'm like, look at this. This is so cool. Collaboration at the truest level.
It really is. And Bob was the first person I met in Helper, and from a random stop in 2020 with Annie driving through. And by the time I got home, the story was in my brain. And the day that we spent with him, which was a really funny day. I always tell people he came, it was COVID, nothing was open. It was a Monday, peering into the vintage motorcycle shop window, and he opened the door and said, come in, and I thought we're getting murdered or we're having the best day of our lives.
Totally.
And we went in, had a great time. And then he's like, come to the basement. I'm like, no, here's where the kill room is for sure.
I remember the first basement. I was like, basement, sir.
Now we're really dead. And it was the most beautiful space of, collectibles. And
and he knows so much. I mean, he knows
Vintage Motor Co. It's so great. But yes, he knows everything. He had such rich stories about the place. And I felt like a little spirit of Helper just sort of landed on my shoulder and came with me home. And that was 2020. And so beautiful and cyclical to then be shooting in 2026. But as Amy mentioned, we wanted to approach with a different perspective. So we began coming down with the idea of, can we do this? How can we do this with you? Be a part of this conversation and collaboration. And we don't want to just steamroll in and shoot a thing and use you for that purpose. But how can we do something together? And they all stepped up. Gary, Mallory, as Amy said, Mark, Cindy, just the town came out in full force and everyone there gave us something. And hopefully we gave something back. And that was really our goal. And some days while set was getting set up, or the shots were getting set up, I just wandered around town and would ask people, is our crew being nice? How's everyone doing? Are they? And I loved to hear that they were buying art and they were, eating at the restaurants and engaging with folks and being kind and respectful. And that meant so much to me. So I think it was really, again, not to harp on the word, but very collaborative with the town. And we were able to
harp on the word, because you guys are using it with like so much intention.
Part of your culture that you want to continue forward.
That's why I wanted to define it, because when you guys are saying it, I can feel it's so truly a part of you. Like, how can we bring more of that to the surface so that it's not just a marketing term?
No.
Where it's like, I'm being collaborative. It's green. It's gluten-free. It's like, it's fucking rice, for God's sake. Of course it's gluten-free.
Exactly. So we love Helper. Shout out to everyone in Helper who helped us. Literally, they did along the way, and they're such a big part of it. And it's a character. The town is a character.
I was just going to ask you if you considered, because that's what it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that back to that idea of the efficiency, because being able to have that kind of culture also made it more interesting. Like, we got to be in nooks and crannies that we wouldn't have been able to be in if we did just come in with a fixed mindset. We ended up shooting places that, we didn't even know about it unless somebody said, "Hey, have you ever seen this cool place?"
They opened their doors for you because you guys were so, welcoming to them.
And it's specific to that place. If you come in sort of with this template that's a fixed template, then you're missing all the other opportunities, and it makes it more fun.
I loved the. I'm going to bastardize it because I shortened it a bit, but you and me equals 3, not just 2, right? Like, there is this third entity of the magic, right?
Yeah.
If you try and control it too much, I think about it all the time when I'm in a transitional space. Like, am I squeezing it too much to squeeze out the magic? And if I don't allow that collaboration, that third character to exist, you're limiting the power of it, right? And so I don't know. Do you feel like you are consciously doing that all the time, or is that just something that you're just like loose grip?
I mean, I think it's not conscious in terms of the effort. I think it's the byproduct of just how we have fun.
And I think
that's just part of how you create.
Yeah, and I do think, exactly to your point, and we saw this multiple times, where you have an idea even for a shot, and it doesn't go that way, and the things don't align. But if you're open, something
more magical
happens.
And that story of life.
I know, and it just kept happening. And I think we've just sort of, I think our natural instinct is to control, or to try to control it, and it has to go this way. But Amy really taught me to be open to the weird outcomes of, what could be. And we had so many moments throughout, and I'm sure every filmmaker finds this, that something more beautiful came to be because of allowing it and allowing those, relationships and things to happen. And there were times where someone from the town would say, "I have this really great thing. Can I bring it? Can I include it?" And we were better for it. And it's being open to that. I think just if we could all do that in life, if I could do this in life too, a little bit more, and let go of the control and just be open to the possibility.
What do you think your biggest lesson is from this project? Maybe you just sort of answered that, but maybe not.
I think I was more emboldened by being able to make the statement that we don't have to treat this as a hobby. We are professionals in professional space. Our economic impact into places we go is high. We were able to have a rural town in Utah seen in a way they wanted to be seen. And I think a mistake that I think we both have made in the past is, because we love it and because we're going to do it anyway, that means it should be treated like our hobby. And I think now we are much more kind of emboldened to say, this is a business practice. This is something that we should neither of us came to this for free. I mean, I'm multi-decades into my skills, and so is Skye. And so that is something that I feel like we can firmly sit on the shoulders of. And I think seeing what we were able to accomplish is one of the biggest takeaways for me, is just to say we deserve to be here. We're going to continue to build this, and there's a reason for it. And it should be treated as such.
That's
Fuck.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Absolutely.
too often, particularly as women, like downplay so much of our talents and strengths. And I don't think that's just something that we've done, naturally. I think that's part
System.
of the system and the culture that we're in. And it's cool that we are now in a position where we can start breaking that down again. And I mean, I'm surprised to hear you say that, as I'm sure many people would be surprised to hear you say that, like, you're not already emboldened, but like you fucking did it already. So like, weren't you emboldened the moment you did it? And I think that's the beauty of sharing these stories, is the reminder that like all of us are questioning our authority. All of us are questioning our power to some degree. And it's just all of our work together to voice it. And then we can start minimizing it so we can step more into our power and be like, okay, yeah, today, yes, that old voice is coming up. This is a hobby. You're not making any money, blank, 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 blank. And then you just go, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. And today I choose different.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's beautiful.
I love that. I wholeheartedly agree. I think I was really humbled to get to a feature film set and actually look around and say, oh my gosh, these people are here to bring our story to life. And it was really hard to ingest that for several days. But then also in that same regard, in that same thought process, I want more people to experience that and to feel that and to believe that they can have that experience. And I know there are many people who are writers, who are creatives in whatever version, that are sitting at home thinking, I don't have a team, I don't have a production company, I don't have a movie being made today, so I'm not that thing. But you are that thing, and there are people who are out there who will, want to hear your stories or want to see what you've created, and whether it takes a year or 5 years or 15, whatever the don't worry about the clock, worry about like putting it out there and marching forward with it and owning it and saying, I am that thing. And it's a practice I'm working on too, even sitting in a chair that says my name on it and says writer. I'm like, I shouldn't be in this chair, someone else want to sit here. But I also remember that person sitting at home alone at a desk and whiling away and feeling like this will never be a thing. And we've all had that self-doubt but then you turn a corner and you meet someone who says, I get you. I see it. I'm sure you guys have felt that way together. And that's all, that's all it takes. And then you can start to move that needle. So do not feel that, you are not that thing today, or that you can't be that thing tomorrow, because we should all believe that is the possibility.
Did you hear it? You need to rewind.
Yeah, you need to rewind.
30 seconds. 30
Those
seconds.
two answers are what it's all
And hear
about,
those
y'all.
again.
Before we
Oh,
end
that's
it,
incredible.
I want to tell you two small memories of what you both mean to me. For you to answer that, you were like, I feel like a little more emboldened. I had the same response of like, Amy fucking Redford, who I feel when you walk in a room. You have always been this, like, for me, I haven't known you for that long, but since you joined Spy Hop, just you walking into the room and saying what you mean in a really real way, you do that for, like, you doing that allows me to do that. And it's something that I felt immediately. And I was like, that's who I want to be. That's who I want to be like.
Don't do that. Trust me, don't do that.
That's who I want to be like in a room. Like, I want to feel that, because I would describe you as emboldened. Like that feels, I've watched you do that in many rooms. And the time what comes to mind, and I've retold this story so many times, Skye, when you told the story, I asked you to come speak here, and you told your story about being at coffee garden with your laptop up researching how to be lesbian when you were coming out in college, probably alongside when you were seeing your grandpa.
It was super smooth.
That and you talking about your mom and that, and I was like, I want to see that movie. And I think there's something when you said that you just love her words. There's something about the way you invite people in. I just feel like that story, I knew who you were. And I think by, again, like you allowing people to see that stickiness and that I'm saying cuteness. It's just because it's just so sweet. Mm-hmm. That sweetness of
the
those
innocence.
So
what do I do?
Adorable moments of that. Like, I think that is like, has to be in the world. So I'm enamored with both of you on doing this work. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that.
I think it's brave. Yeah. I think it's fucking brave.
I mean, I just want to say too, you have and continue to show up time and time again for so many people just on our scale. We needed money to finish our short film and it was yes from you. We needed child extras for our second feature, for our feature, Salt and Honey. And it was yes. And you are a yes person in so many ways. You're at, every community event. You're showing up in so many different spaces and places for people. And it is the difference between something's happening or not. So, definitely, I just want to express our thank you. We've talked about it at length. And Annie, when I was running out the door today, just said, I never laugh harder than when I'm in the car with Tessa. We just laugh. She's the fucking funniest person in the world. So I just wanted to drop that in too. But also
look at that. And you never think you're funny.
I know I'm fun,
and
but I'm not
someone's
funny.
over here validating the reminder.
Comedy writer.
I was just going to say that you're a fucking comedian.
You are funny.
Thank you.
But thank you. And obviously thank you for both for having us and for such a lovely conversation. Because, these things matter and it matters to us. And we just appreciate that everything that you are all doing and showing up for people and making things possible because we all need each other. None of like we said, none of this happens alone.
No, I mean like big fives to all of us. Like we're all fucking awesome.
This is how we change the world, y'all.
That's right.
So thanks for doing it.
Thank you.
Thank
we
you.
love you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Love you. Thank you.
Love you too.